Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Bionic Commando, brought to us by Capcom. Based on the arcade game of the same name, however, this isn't a direct port of the arcade game. It actually features a completely different story, and definitely has different level design. In Bionic Commando, we're playing as Lad Spencer, who's sent to save Super Joe, who's actually the main character of the other Capcom game known as Commando. Basically, World War III is getting ready to start, and you have two factions on opposite sides. You have the Empire, who's the evil side, and the Federation. However, in the Japanese version of the game, the evil side, the Empire, is actually trying to resurrect Hitler and use him as their leader in order to take over the world. However, when brought over to North America, this was changed, and all Nazi symbols and other mentions of Hitler are erased. Though you can clearly tell when we make it to the end of the game that Hitler is definitely the basis for the end boss. The main thing that makes Bionic Commando such a great and unique experience for the NES is that even though it's a straight action game, there's no jump button, and you'll be doing tons of platforming. Instead, you use your bionic arm in order to latch onto things to swing back and forth and to get to higher platforms. Mastering this is the key thing of getting through this game. You can end up using it to do a lot of cool shortcuts and other neat things throughout the game to help you get by. So here we go with Bionic Commando for the NES, and at the startup screen leaving it will give you a detailed look at the story of the game. While our mission may be simple to just save Super Joe, you actually have to do a few things throughout the game in order to find him and save him. The game is broken up into a large map screen with different areas, including bases for you to go to, as well as actual action levels. You have to complete all the action levels by defeating the boss at the end of which in order to complete that particular stage. There's also special items to find that will upgrade your equipment throughout the game, as well as you actually have to do communications with computers by either tapping into enemy signals or by contacting your own officers in order to find out very important information to continue on in the game. One thing that makes Bionic Commando very tough is at the beginning of the game you have only 1 health, so as soon as you take 1 hit of damage you end up losing a life. Inside large rooms, you'll come to computers where you can communicate or wiretap, obviously communicating with your officers or wiretapping into enemies. You have to enter some of these rooms in order to actually unlock doors later on, so we'll be only opening up and talking to the people we need to talk to, so don't mind me when I enter some of the computer rooms and just talk to the computer and then back out, because you don't actually need to talk to the computer or listen to the text, you can just continue on. Collecting enough of the bonus items that enemies drop that look like bullets, you'll actually gain health. This way you can actually take more than 1 hit in order to continue on the level and take more than 1 damage. I highly recommend at the beginning of the game in the first level, you use all the platforms to get used to your bionic arm. Once you feel confident enough, then enter the top right door of the second set of towers. Once you're inside, drop down the left side and then hug the wall to make it into this area and start working your way through all the soldiers. It can be difficult at times in order to get past some of these enemies, so just stay still on a platform and wait for the right opportunity to deliver your fire. Thankfully, for the most part, the enemies aren't too aggressive. They usually stay in their same area, so this will give you the opportunity to see what path they go and then sneak up behind them or stand up at the right opportunity in order to deliver hits. Up here in this door is the first boss battle in the end of Area 1. There's only a few different types of bosses, and this one is the commander who sends a whole bunch of other troops at you. Your actual goal, though, is actually to destroy the computer or giant machine on the far right side of the screen. Keep firing at the core and it will end up being destroyed and you complete the boss battle automatically. You don't actually have to defeat all the troops or even the bosses in some of these areas in order to actually complete the area. For the commander, since we'll be doing it multiple times, the main strategy is just to be in the middle area, take out this commander, and then move yourself over to the right, stand on that center platform and keep delivering shots, and only taking out the soldiers as they get in your way. The next area, which you can see is represented by a red square instead of the white square, is one of the enemy actual bases. If you end up firing here, you end up causing all the troops to start attacking you. However, you have to do this in order to enter areas here. In this room, use your bionic arm to grab the item, and then you can press A, B, and start in order to automatically exit the area and get back to the chopper scene. Then we're going to head south from Area 13, go back to 1, and then transfer over to Area 4. If you end up running into any of the enemy trucks, you have a short action sequence that must be completed before you can actually move on the map screen once again. The first item we ended up grabbing was the flare item. This will allow us to actually see in the dark if we need to. However, I end up finding it not hard to actually travel through this area in the dark. So, I'll be showing that off while I'm playing it this time. Be very careful swinging over all the spikes, take out this soldier who's behind the barrel, and enter the door up here to one of the communication rooms. Talk to the computer and end up using your regular communicate. Once you've done so, you can then exit the room because the door to the boss is now opened up. Use your flares definitely your first time coming here, but since I've completed the game so many times, I know where all the enemies are placed in this area. Use your bionic arm in order to swing up here, then swing across the spikes, immediately firing at the enemy when you drop on the platform, then climb up, take out another enemy, and enter the door for the next boss. Get on the middle platform and then swing over to the right side. This boss is a little bit of a pain because he likes to hit you with his own type of bionic arm when you're standing on a platform above him. However, I usually just stay on this platform and keep moving over to the right every time he tries to hit me, and I'll be able to dodge his arm by just slightly going over to the left, keep firing at the machine, you'll destroy it, and move on to the next area. After completing an area, you get a bonus amount of bullets as well as you usually get an item. For example, this time we got a wide cannon, a new type of weapon. There's multiple paths in the game for you to take, so this is just the path I'm taking. I'm going to transfer over to Area 15, equip my new gun, the wide cannon gun, and then move through this area. Once again, you'll have to fire in order to take out some enemies here. Swing across this gap, getting up to the top of it if you can. One cool thing is you can't land on an enemy and get hurt. You can actually just bounce off their head. Once up here, enter this room, and then use the platform so you can get over to the right side and grab this new type of communication, the yellow communicator. These communication devices that we grab throughout the game all look the same except they're different colors. They allow you to communicate or wiretap with certain enemies, so you do need them in order to get through some areas. Here's our first example of the truck minigame, or the truck action sequence. Since we have the wide cannon, we have a nice spread shot, and we can easily mow through the enemies and get into the back of the truck at the top in order to move on. I actually find those areas really fun to do, and I always seem to fight all the trucks when I normally play the game, just so I can complete all the action sequences. Next up, we have the next action area, and we're going to be working our way up a long set of building here. As far as items you can pick up in the game, the bullets that we pick up, you need a certain amount in order to gain more health, like I mentioned before. Picking up 5 will end up granting you your first thing of health. Then 15, 30, then 60, 100, 150, 220, and finally 300 bullets in order to get full life, which is 8 total hits. and it's something I very rarely have ever done in the game because I usually end up getting hit once or twice throughout most of the gameplay. Enter this room and you end up getting a pretty funny thing of just ga 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 when you talk to the computer system there. But you need to do so in order to open up the second half of this level. Once you go back outside, you'll see that you'll be able to travel to the top area. Be very careful of these new helicopter enemies. They're very annoying, and when they point down at you, they fire a streak of lightning which can easily do damage to you. Do your best to try to use the items around here in order to swing back and forth to avoid their fire and deliver a shot when you can to them. The giant lights or sphere type platforms that we land on, like I just did there, you end up sliding off as soon as you get to the top of it, so you can use these to get to higher platforms, but you have to be very quick about it. Do the best that you possibly can to avoid all the enemy helicopter fire, then enter this door and you don't have to use the computer, just exit right back out, and then the screen will scroll up when you come back out so you can actually continue on in the level once again. Here can be a little bit fun because you have to use these platforms, but they end up springing you when you land on top of them, so you'll have to time your bionic arm correctly when you start flying in one direction so you can keep moving up. When you make it to the top here, watch out for the last bit of enemy fire and then enter the door for the actual boss battle of the level. This boss is definitely the toughest so far because it's really the only one that fights back. This giant machine can definitely be a pain. Move to the middle platform and use your ducking to your advantage. Then move to the right side all the way and you should be able to avoid all the spread shot fire that the enemy gives out. You may have to move slightly to the left or duck down underneath the fire, but this is your best opportunity to stay safe and destroy the enemy. Once it's taken care of, just move over to the right platform and take out the core in order to complete the area. For completing Area 5, we get another big weapon upgrade, and this time we get the rocket launcher, which is definitely a great weapon to use. Next, we're going to transfer over to Area 16, another one of those little town areas. Go inside, definitely equipping your new rocket launcher, as I find this the best weapon we have so far. This will be the weapon I pretty much use throughout the rest of the game. Fire when you want and take out the enemies if they get in your way, and then go inside this room. Use your arm in order to grab the green communicator, then exit out of the level and get back to the map. Once you're back at the map, use transfer, and now we'll be going to area number 2. In area 2, start off by taking out the enemies around, then enter inside the room. Inside here is like a giant sewer system, and you have water that comes out of the pipes in the background, and you actually get moved by them. Use them to your advantage at times, but you'll have to spring out of them at the right opportunities in order to continue moving through the level. Watch out for the giant vehicle here, which is thankfully easily taken out with a single shot from your rocket. Wait for this one to come over and then swing underneath of it so you can avoid actually having to deal with that one. They can block your fire from the front, so it can be sometimes really tricky to actually deliver your hit to them. Use the spring here carefully so you can make it over to the far left side, then make it over the large gap. Slide off here and then be ready to swing over to the left when you see this yellow platform so you can make it over to the boss door of this area. Once inside here, it's a rematch against the guy who actually sends all the troops at you. He's once again easy, however this time he's on the top. So just use the bottom to your advantage using the rocket launcher, take out any enemy that gets in your way, and then get up to this middle platform and deliver your rocket fire. It only takes 4 or 5 shots or so with the rocket launcher, and you complete the level. For completing Area 2, we get the pendant item. The pendant item is actually a pretty useful item. It basically allows you, no matter what, your first hit that you take in an area will just simply bounce off of you, so it's like an extra piece of health. And it regenerates every time you re-enter or go into another area. Next off, use this tree to your right in order to swing across the giant thing of quicksand. Then you'll have to do a large swing to try to get as far into the middle as you can, then quickly walk over to the right and use the tree on the right side in order to make it onto the next platform. Here we have new type of enemies, as we have giant spiders that are along the walls, as well as giant plants that are going to try to attack us. One of the other most annoying enemies about this area is definitely the butterfly enemies. Any flight enemy is a huge pain in Bionic Commando. However, with the butterflies, if you time your Bionic Commando arm correctly, you can actually hit them and cause them to die that way. Go up here and enter this room and then drop down to the right side. You'll then be able to make it to the next elevator below, but immediately get off the elevator, climb up, and then swing across these spikes. If you do it correctly, you'll be able to land on these platforms over on the right. Drop down a little bit, and then start making your way over to the left to get right to the boss room of this stage. Once again, we have a fight against the giant machine. So, our same strategy that we used last time will be the one we use here. Using the middle one, and then firing our first shot, and it's instantly destroyed with the rocket launcher. Deliver your 3 attacks to the middle core, and you move on to the next area. After completing that area and getting the rapid fire device, we now move over to area number 6. The rapid fire device does exactly what you expect it to do. It allows you just to hold down the fire button and continue to be able to keep firing. Break down the wall here and then be very careful while swinging across these gaps that you don't get hit by the spike balls jumping out of the water. Use the spring to launch you up so you can land on this set of platforms and start working your way to the top here. I highly recommend just taking some damage from the regular troop and then walk through all the spike enemies that are actually coming at you from the guy below. You'll have to make some really wide jumps here in order to keep landing on these platforms and make it over the large gap to get to this door on the far right side, which takes you to the next area of the stage. Here we'll have to do a very tricky jump in order to swing back and forth, and then when you're just off the side, you can actually reach up and grab onto the box to get on top of that. Then use that in order to keep going over to the right, drop down, and keep swinging across till you get to the main building. You can't grab onto those things hanging down from the below. However, what you can do is you can swing using the very bottom, and when you get to the top, just swing slightly. You'll go in between the platform, and then you can actually grab onto the boxes above. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to this type of swinging, but it allows you to bypass the stage and be able to get up a lot quicker. However, you still have to be very careful of all the giant spike balls that keep getting dropped all over the place during the stage. Once to the top though, enter this door and it's time for the boss fight. This is a new boss that we haven't fought yet in the game. This giant robot guy has a giant backpack on him who ends up firing at you. Get up to the very top. Once up here, just dodge the thing that he uses out of the back of his backpack, and then drop down on the right side. Doing this, you'll actually cause him to start backing up to the left, and you easily can get in shots against the core without actually fighting him. After completing the area, we move on to neutral zone number 14. Just like the previous neutral zones, when you fire, you'll end up causing a ruckus. However, here we're going to use the permit in order to get past this guard so we can actually move into the area. Then we'll fire so we can take out some enemy soldiers. Inside this room, climb up and grab yourself the blue communicator. However, do not exit the level quite yet. Go back out here and then swing across the gap. Keep going over and enter the next door. Inside here, you can grab a whole lot of extra bullets if you like, in order to replenish some health. However, you only have a couple of seconds to grab the bullets before it ends up kicking you out to the main map. Then head back over to the left, and then use this giant diagonal direction in order to go up to area number 8. This area is pretty tough. Start working your way up to the platforms, just hanging on to the left side of the wall, and duck down, standing up at the right opportunity to deliver a shot. The rocket launcher works so well because it just mows through enemies in a line and keeps going until it goes off screen. When you make it up here, ignore the door over to the left and instead start swinging over to the right and enter this door with the left and right arrows on it. This will take you to another area. Stand still and keep firing at this thing until you end up destroying it before heading over to the door on the right. This area can get pretty confusing. Use the elevator and go into the top left door. Once in here, you'll start off at the bottom. Quickly work your way up the left wall to try to avoid as many of the blue guys throwing bombs and the guys laying those spike things out as you possibly can. Then drop down the platform here and enter inside this room and talk to the computer. Once here, all you have to do is communicate real quick and then you can exit out the left door. Once back here, continue it over to the right. There's a lot of these blue guys still, but after moving over to the right, then immediately go back to the left after a few of the bombs have been thrown. This will give you a little opening to get past the bomb throwers and over to the left side to enter this door. Here you'll have to once again take out this machine before going over to the left side. You'll be in a room filled with spikes at the very bottom. Wait for the pink platform to come over and then step onto it when you get the opportunity, then start climbing upwards. Ignore the door at the top left and instead enter the center door. Talk to the computer just like we did the first time and then exit out. Once you're back out here, now climb up the platform and go into the top left door. Here you'll be in another room with an elevator. Start heading down and then enter this door in order to reach the boss fight for the stage. This time it's another battle against the guy leading a whole group of troops. Climb up to the middle platform this time, watching out for the enemy if you can, and then use your arm to swing over to the right, take out the soldier from behind because he has a shield that'll block you, and then fire at the core when you can in order to defeat the boss. You get the iron boots for completing the area. The iron boots actually allow you, when you swing back and forth and hit an enemy, instead of stunning them, you'll now actually be able to do damage to them if you have the item equipped. Here we have to do another one of the truck sequences. Work your way up, watching out for the soldiers that slowly fire, firing your rocket launcher as you can in order to mow down troop after troop. Next is time to enter area number 9. In the next area, start off by walking across this platform and then use this rock above in order to swing across and grab yourself an extra life. You can then drop down the giant gap, but be very careful because there is a soldier at the bottom waiting to fire. When you make it up here, swing across, watching out for the spikes on the platform as you do so. You may have to hang on to a platform for a few seconds before trying to climb yourself back up. Watch out during the whole stage because there's a lot of parachuting soldiers coming down from the top. Watch out for them and then go into this boss room for another fight against a group of soldiers. This one's pretty much just the last few, so walk over to the right, take out the soldiers that you can, and then climb up to the middle platform to take out the core. After completing the area, then go down to the next neutral zone. Once down here, fire when you feel like it, take out some enemies, and then enter the first door you come to. Inside here, there'll be a soldier. Use the spikes if you have some health in order to just bounce across over to the right, and you can then talk to him and he'll give you some secret information. Once you get the information from him though, exit back out to the main map. Here, we're now going to transfer over to neutral zone number 14, but we're going to meet some enemies along the way. This area is just like some of the trucks, so just be very careful moving through and firing straight forward in order to take out any enemy that may try to get in your way. At the top though, you can also grab the helmet. Transfer yourself over to one of the previous areas and then use the giant diagonal stream in order to go up to Area 8. You may run into a truck though while trying to do this, so simply just walk through and complete the truck area. Here I'm going to take out 2 of the trucks on the map. By going up to the diagonal left, I end up running into 2 trucks. I'll complete these stages before going on to the next zone. Once we're finally back onto the map, we can enter area number 7. Once you land inside here, take out the wall by using the 3-shot spread shot, then immediately exit out because the 3-shot really isn't the best weapon. But once you take out the wall, you can come back to the area and the wall's destroyed. So we'll come back now that we have a rocket launcher equipped instead. Use your arm behind the vehicle and then swing across the ceiling in order to make it up to the right side. Then, if you use the rocks above, you'll be able to swing over to the next vehicle. Watch out for the flying vehicles here because they can damage you if you just run into them along with the fire that they throw out. Here you'll have to move across some singular platforms, and this can be a little bit tough, especially if you're just learning the controls still. When you make it over to the left though, you can enter the boss door for this area. Here's another one of those robot guys with the giant backpacks, and we can pretty much do the same strategy we did on him the first time around. Instead of actually fighting him, just move over to the right, and then get up on top of the platform when he's over to the left. This time though, the core can actually fire bullets at you, but it only fires 1 or 2 spread shots by the time we're able to launch 3 or 4 rockets at him. When you complete the area though, we finally get to save Super Joe. After saving Super Joe, we find out about the real threat of the entire game, so we still have something we have to do in order to actually beat the game. Go down below to the neutral area. Once down here, do not fire. Just work your way over, swinging across the gap, and make yourself up into this building over here. We need to talk to this guy right here who ends up being Destroyer 3, which Joe told us about. He'll tell us about a machine gun. He'll give you a hint, then enter the door over to the left, and then end up grabbing it using your bionic arm. Then go back out to the main map. Once here, head back up to 7, and then transfer yourself over to number 8. You'll have to fight a truck along the way if you take the same path I have throughout the game. Once back on the actual main map, this time head north into area number 10. You can see over here is the final 3 areas, 10, 11, and 12. When you start up, climb up immediately to the platform so you can avoid the laser that's moving back and forth. Use the center column so you can swing high enough to reach the pipe platform above. Here you'll have to swing across and be ready to use your arm immediately because you don't want to fall too far down and end up getting hit by the spikes below. Then watch out for the slimy water as you start making your way over here. Here you'll have to duck down and use the slime to your advantage so you can get underneath the spikes. When you make it over to the far left, swing above and go inside this room. Inside here, use the communicate and then back out and exit the room. Then go over to the left and use the center to swing across the giant spikes and get to the platform that's moving slowly back and forth. You'll have to of course duck underneath the spikes in order to make it over to the left. Then drop down to the hole below to the left. Watch out for the little vehicles and keep moving, then climb up here and enter the boss room. Here we have another one of those giant machines, but just like before, we can use one shot from the rocket launcher to take it out. Take out the core and complete area number 10. After dealing with another truck sequence, we're now at area number 11, the second to last area of the game. Use the ceiling or moving platforms in order to work yourself across. With enough practice, you don't even need to use those moving platforms like I am here. Use the springs, and when you're at the absolute highest part of your jump, you can then use the arm in order to make it up to the top. Swing across and then use these beams in the ceiling to make your way all the way over to the left. If you time it right and do the right spots, you'll be able to land on a solid platform instead of the fire. Then you'll be able to enter the boss room on the left side. Here we have another one of their soldier leaders, and instead of troops though, we have lots of the firing laser enemies. Just do your best to avoid them and fire the few shots you need to at the core in order to complete area number 11. You also obtain the bulletproof vest for beating area number 11. We then have one last area to go, area number 12. Just like the pendant we got earlier, and also the helmet that we haven't been using, it allows you to get a free shot basically. We parachute down and then go down the elevator to enter the final area. Stop off at the first floor and enter the left room. Here, swing across, watching out for the electricity as it runs to the platform below you. Enter this room over here. It looks like a boss room, but it's not the actual boss of the area, it's just the first of cores that we have to take out. Just use your arm to get attached to the top platform and then fire a few shots at the core to get rid of it. Then continue along your path, once again watching out for electricity. At the bottom, enter inside this door. Take out the enemy from behind here, and then use your arm in order to take out the other enemy and get to the elevator. Walk over across it, and then use a swing to get across the gap area and take out a soldier and use the elevator on the right. As soon as you land down here, enter the door on the right and you'll be taken to another room similar to the one we were in earlier. Swing to knock the rolling barrel out of the way and then start working your way down, once again watching out for electricity in the platforms. Just skip the first door that we come to and start working your way to the bottom. Instead, enter the boss door at the very bottom here. Once inside, once again hang onto the ceiling and then fire a couple of shots to get rid of the core. After a couple of seconds of it blowing up, you'll be able to exit the room. Now, work your way back up. You don't have to enter the boss door here, so just keep moving up and get back to the open door area at the top. When back out into the elevator area, take the elevator and start going down. When you reach the bottom, take out the couple of soldiers and walk over to the left side. Here you'll find yourself on another elevator. Take this one down and then quickly swing across, watching out for the spikes. There's very little room for error while swinging across this spot. Enter the door and it's time for the big boss fights of the game. Master D, or in the Japanese version Hitler, ends up coming to life, destroying the thing that he's inside of it and taking out the enemy leader. It's now time for the big boss fight against the Albatross, the giant warship of doom. Wait for the right opportunity and you'll be able to swing up and attach to the ceiling and get some shots in on the main core. Just immediately drop down before the exhaust of fire from the right side ends up coming out at you. After you deliver enough shots with the rocket launcher, you end up destroying it and move on to the next screen. In the next area, swing across, watching out for the spikes below, and then talk to this soldier. He'll give you the bazooka, and you only have one shot in order to take out the final helicopter. Use your arm from the box and swing down and fire at the right moment to hit it directly head on, and you'll end up destroying it. After one of the coolest and goriest scenes on the NES, you now have to escape the base. You only have 60 seconds, so you're going to have to hurry, moving quickly up the platforms in order to reach the top. As long as you move quickly, you should have plenty of time and really no issues. When you make it up here, you'll end up having to fight one of these guys. However, you can just use the platform and then swing across over in order to avoid actually fighting him. Continue up to the very top, and you complete Bionic Commando. So there you have Bionic Commando for the NES, one of my absolute favorite games and one of the funnest NES games to play. It takes a little bit to get the controls down, but once they're down, you can end up finding a lot of enjoyment playing Bionic Commando over and over again. And the game ends with a couple of words of dialogue from Super Joe, and then the date with his signature. Unfortunately, the game series Bionic Commando would pretty much end here for a long time. They would end up making a Bionic Commando game for the Game Boy, but then years later we saw the remake for the Xbox 360 and the new generation of consoles, which I really didn't find that enjoyable. However, the best thing was when they completely remade this game as Bionic Commando Rearmed. And due to how good the Rearmed remake was, they ended up making a direct sequel to Rearmed, Bionic Commando Rearmed 2. But with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.